So everyone understands your primitives. Okay, so I'm going to draw these in 3-dimension, just so we can get a sense of this, what I'm talking about. Oh, that's a horrible cylinder. Oh gosh, it feels like I'm drawing with a crayon for some reason. Okay. And last, we'll do a sphere. Wow, that's a horrible circle. Just kind of, that's close enough. Okay, so this is how I'm gonna treat everyone almost like this is the basics. This is like everyone has never seen lighting before, so I'll treat it like that for like the first minute or two, and then after that I'll bump it up into a little bit more like a medium to advanced type of a class. One second. So this entire session will only last an hour and a half. And here we go. So we understand our basic objects. So these are basic primitives. And let's say we have a light source. The light source would be like, let's say it's a lamp or a direction light. Okay, light is projecting in this direction. So this is what we're going to project this. This is the same light we're going to project for all of them. So I'll just kind of create something like this so we can see what sense it is. So understanding this, we know that obviously whatever is closest to the light is going to be bright, and whatever is furthest from the light, oh, that looks like a Klansman. Whatever is closest to the light is going to be bright. Whatever is over here is going to be dark. Okay? So I want you guys to think of, just keep this in mind. We obviously know it's going to be dark over here, and it's going to be bright over here, and it's going to cast a shadow. So it's going to be pretty dark over here, a little bit darker over here, something like this, a little bit brighter, I should say, and this is the basic understanding of what this light source, of how things would be shaded. Okay, and everything here would cast a shadow here on the side. So you'd have a ground shadow, you'd have a shadow over here on the side. Okay, now what I want you to do from this point is this. I'm going to use this as a base for cross hatching, and just for how do you use this when you're applying it to a muscle structure, or someone's arm, or someone's chest, or someone's head, or their legs that has multiple shapes within it. So for cross hatching, I'm going to move line this out right now. Okay, so for each one of these objects, how you would cross hatch this, you want to think of your cross hatch lines as their blinds. Okay, so if you have a light over here and you have blinds, the blinds are going to allow the light to come in. Okay, now if you start to close off the blinds like this, the light is going to naturally bounce off. Okay, and the more you close off those lines, let's say you close off the lines more like this, the more of a reflection, the more of a deflection of the light that's going to happen. Meaning it's going to be less light in that area. So that's the thinking behind it. This is really super basic. It's kind of boring right now, but it's very much the thinking of this. This is how I want people to think about cross hatching. Because a lot of people do cross hatching, and it's pretty horrible, or it's not correct with the type of shape that you're applying the cross hatching to. Is, let's say you're cross hatching a background with some rocks, or someone's hair, or someone's t-shirt, or you know, the muscles, or a car tire, you know, different things like that. You know, you just want to, this is, if you, once you learn this and you understand this, this will keep you apply this to everything. It'll keep everything looking universal. It reduces all your mistakes that you're going to make in the future. So this is the core, this is the basics of the thinking. So, so going back to this top part right here, okay? So keeping this area in mind, okay? The way how the blinds are crossed over. So if you open the blinds, there's going to be a lot of light coming in. So the more you close off the blinds, the less light that's going to come through. So if you want to make it even darker, close off the blinds even more. So that's the concept behind it. So just that's it. So just think of it like this. Think of lines going this way. It's pointing towards the light. All the lines are pointing towards the light now. Okay? But you want to get darker, close off the blinds. When you get darker again, close off the blinds again. That's what you want to think about as you're doing this. Now, to undo that, well, I'm going to keep this up so you can see this. So, if you have the lines, this is something I want you to keep an eye out for as you're cross-hatching. This is key. It's this. This diamond shape right here. You're looking for this pattern right here. You capture this pattern, you're on the way to being a great cross-hatcher right there. That diamond shaped pattern. So just keep that in mind as you're moving forward. Okay? So now, how do we apply this to these objects? Okay? This is how you apply this to these objects. Okay? So let's say you're keeping this in mind as you're going to cross hatch this. So you're thinking the lines, you want to follow the contours of the object. So imagine this coming across like this. Follow the contours of the object. Okay? And then next thing you want to do is start to cross the blinds like this. Now you're shading that object. Now the same thing with this. Let's say you have lines going towards the lights, and then on the back side you want to create something just to kind of darken it up a little bit. Something like that. You just go ahead and keep this solid bright up here. So follow the contours of the object. I'm going really fast. It's kind of sloppy, but it's not about finesse at this point. It's about getting the idea to you. So I need you to get the concept in your head. Okay. So it's up to you if you decide to cross hatch going in this direction or going in this direction. It doesn't really matter. You can kind of run with it, whatever direction you want to go with this. Okay. Now, obviously, if you're going to render the lines back here, you can render it with lines going in this direction, or you can just make it completely solid black. It's up to you as an artist. Now, rendering something round, you want to keep lines going in this direction. That's one way of doing it right here. You can smooth it. You can actually fade, like taper it off, like have a little bit here and fade it off. Oops, fade it as you go. So you have a little bit here, and then it's a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And you keep going as you go. So you just kind of taper it a little bit. So that's the idea behind this. So you turn it off. So that's the idea. That's the concept behind it, as what you're thinking. So applying this to muscle, to different, like a round muscle, you would apply the same concept to that round muscle. If you're applying this to like a pipe, you would apply the same thing to that pipe. You're applying this to like so kind of hard edge object. You would apply to this. You know, the exact same thing you would apply to this round. So just keep that in mind as you guys are moving forward. And this is the basic. This is beyond basic. This is sort of like the medium way of attacking. And what's going on with the stream? Okay, looks like there was a hiccup in the stream or something. Okay, let me know if you guys can still see. If there's any hiccups or anything, just go ahead and just let me know, and I'll try to see if there's an issue on my side or anything. Okay, so knowing this, how do we apply this to like a muscle structure? Okay, now I want you to think of this. I want you to keep this in mind. I'm going to group this so we have everything in one group. So this is what you want to think of as you're drawing muscle. Now I want you to think of your muscle structure as just a bunch of round objects. So let's say you have rough this up. Okay? So this is really rough. Let me try and clean it up a little bit. So this is really quick. Someone's, your fingers are down here. I won't even go into detail with that, but let's just say that's someone's arms. Okay, someone's neck, the head, whatever, blah blah blah. So anyway, I want you to start thinking of the muscle structure, because your muscles are built out of just round. They're not sharp edge objects. They are round, smooth objects or smooth shapes that's combined together. So all the muscle fibers, they're round and they combine together. So what you are actually coloring, what you're actually shading, I'm going to put this back here. So if you think of the muscles, they're a bunch of round objects like this. Okay, so what you're actually doing now. Now I showed you guys how to render a round object. Okay, and so you have a round object, and I showed you follow the light. Let's say the light is coming from. I'm going to render this one here. The light coming from up top, like this. So the light's coming from the top and shooting the light in this direction. Okay. So what you need is follow the contours of the muscle and then close it off. Actually, I'll close it off. Yeah, that's close enough. Something like that. Maybe. Yeah, like that. Actually, no, I'm going this direction. Yeah, that's better. Much better. So I'm going to apply this to, imagine if you had a bunch of these objects combined together like this. So all I'm doing is applying this exact same thing to all of this. So now I'm going to do some cross hatching with Finesse. So now, instead of I'm just applying it to just one object, I'm applying it to a mass of objects. So I'm going to try to make it all blend together with this. So now, once I smooth everything out, it's going to have obviously these are the ones that's furthest away from the light, so I'm going to try to darken them a little bit. These are the ones, these are objects, these objects up here at the top, they're closest to the light, so I'm going to render them the least. So they won't appear as dark as the ones that's furthest away from the light. So the ones that's furthest away, they get two sets of lines. The ones that's closest only get one. So I'll keep it like that. So from here, you can close it off with some, you know, little details you can add in here. You know, if you want to make it solid black back here, you can do that. You know, but this is the concept behind it. So you just literally, like, imagine if you were like rendering like a bag full of balls or something, or you know, a backpack full of round objects, or a sock full of oranges, or something like that. So you just want to keep that in mind. Okay, so now how would I render this? How do I apply this to these muscles? So we have these round shapes. So now I'm keeping this light up here in mind. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is render. The first set of lines I'm going to throw is going to go towards the light. You can even cross objects like this. Just go ahead and cross everything across. Just throw everything around. Now, everything else, it's a combination of finesse, where you apply this rendering technique with the tiny details to bring the muscle structure out, meaning the tiny details on the inside, like all the little nicks and little scratches, or let's say you have a character with gloves or something, you know, you want to use all that's something you want to keep in mind as you're doing. Let's say he has gloves. Or he has like an armband going across like this, and it's, you know, maybe it's tied or something. Whatever. He's bleeding. He has a giant cut on his arm. Okay, let's say, so now you have this first set instead of lines. You can always leave just the first set instead of lines, and you don't have to do the second one, because the less lines you put, the cleaner your piece looks. So if you absolutely don't have to put those second batch of lines, don't put it. You can leave it just like this, just with simple lines, and that's it. But always render towards the light. That will save you anything. If I'm rendering against the light, it's okay, but you would have to. There's a couple ways of doing it. The only time you would render away from or counter to the light. Like say, if the light's coming in this direction, but you start rendering in this direction, it can work, but it would have to follow a specific flow of the muscle. Now I'm going to do it on this, on his chest right here. You could render towards the light, you could, okay? But this is another way I'm going to show you where you're actually rendering counter to the light, but you're going in this direction. But what I'm doing is I'm not fighting the muscle structure. I'm actually going with the muscles. The muscle has, the chest muscle has this specific shape to it, so I'm going with it. I'm not fighting the muscle structure. But I can also close it off. So what I would close it off with is something like this. At the very top, I would just throw some lines here that's going in that direction. Or you can throw it like somewhere here, over here in this corner. Or let's say you wanted to, let's say you put it over here, but you can carry it through, but I would fade it. I would not, I wouldn't carry it all the way across like this. Then it starts to look weird. So this is one of the key things about drawing comics is leaving a small gap so that your reader, the person who's looking at your comics, looking at your art, let their mind and their brain fill in that gap. So, like if I'm drawing an eyeball, over here. I'm going to draw the whole eye like this, but at the very bottom, I'm just going to leave a tiny opening at the bottom. I won't fill in the entire thing. I'll just leave it open at the bottom like this. I won't fill it. So just leave this tiny little gap down here at the bottom. Let the person's mind, their mind's eye, fill in that gap for him. If you close it all the way, it starts to look too forced, and it's almost like it at some point when it actually go to rendering or final print, it can get muddy in certain areas. So just leave it a little bit small breathing room at the bottom of the eye. Let it breathe. The same thing with which is the same thing with inking, but I'll show you guys that on another screen. So this is the concept behind what I want you guys to think as you're rendering. Okay. So you keep this in mind as you're moving forward. All right. Now, let me see what else can I. Questions I can answer for you guys. You want to answer some questions, Hannah?
Do I want to answer some questions?
Yeah, or you want to read some questions and then see where we can go. I'm going to start drawing. I actually scanned in a head, and I was going to show you guys something too. Something. It was a quick head I literally just sketched.
But I don't think there's very many questions.
There's not many questions.
Yeah. Everybody's busy learning.
Everyone's busy just staring at this stuff.
Yeah, they're soaking it in.
Okay. I'll show you guys. I just finished a Batman piece. I'll show you guys this Wolverine piece right now. Let's see if I can open this up for you guys. This is one of my rough sketches that I just knocked out. And it wasn't a 5-minute sketch. This one probably took about 10 minutes or so. You can load this one up. Nope. It won't open.